Welcome everybody to Mudflood was Armageddon. The Mudflood was the Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. Boy, are they really pumping the AI stuff? Hey, I'm going to just get right to it. I got the share the screen going. Now I got it. I saw that. I can see something there. Looks like it. A little bit of pictures. Then I can move right on. I know I downloaded a few things. Look at how much it costs to see Bruce Springsteen. These are all tickets at this venue. And you can buy one ticket at $7,700. That seems like a lot, right? I know it does to me. America. And it's not supposed to be here, right? There is a 4,000-year-old tablet that Chief Joseph has. I think it was given to him to prop up the Mormon story, the white God. That story was given to him. There are so many artifacts, that are Hebrewic, cuneiform, Aramaic, things like that. In the United States, this particular one, Chief Joseph had, famous for the quote, "I will fight no more forever." It's in North America and it's not supposed to be here, yet it is. They always act surprised. Interpretation, all done by professional academics. Yeah, they know how to read the cuneiform. There it is. There's one and then another one like it. He found it. See, Book of Mormon evidence. They're trying to prop it up because Chief Joseph says, my ancestors were given it to us to remind us of the white gods that were coming. Come on. Is that how we end up having Mormons running for president with their shady backgrounds? All of them. I cannot believe this. This must have been an important game to me or something. I did a screenshot. How would you win this game? I guess. I think I won. Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. I showed RJ this morning, this thing here. This guy, you won't believe where they're hanging out. Mount Athos. I promise you, he's about to open doors with some ancient keys. And then they pop on the whole thing of, he's from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. There's your thumbnail. So I must have decided I need something more than screenshots. So, I mean, that was a good video. This guy, New West Reset, I think he put it out there. Never before has there been, okay, this goes back to the silver stopped being mined in Colorado. We just talked about it, 1893. It's how they got the art movement. The Guggenheim cashed out at the top of the market. According to them, never before has there been such a sudden and striking cessation of industrial activity, nor was any sector in the country exempt from paralysis. Mills, factories, furnaces, mines nearly everywhere shut down in large numbers, and hundreds of thousands of men thrown out of employment. What would happen? Oh, wait, that's going to happen. Merry Christmas is what they'll say. Look at Frankism. That's a form of, like, I know that the Franks are the French. This is a Jewish Frank. They want to go into that theistic, material is all, defy the false God, force God's hand. Prove it. They say I don't think that rabbinical Judaism thinks spirit is all. Obey the truth, trust God. What? Is he going down that Noahide law thing too? Also, in 1762, Her Highness, the OBM, that's a traveled from Wolchesky to the Lord. She arrived there on the 8th of September, stayed on the blank judgment, had sexual relations with the Lord for the first time. You wonder who they're talking about. Estimony, I don't know, Jewish Jacob. They're trying to say it's Queen Esther or something. So look at this. Look at the way this wind changed directions when the atmospheric river flooded everything and then decided to freeze it. It. Look at that. The wind just went zoop, and then it was going one direction. Look at see the main flow of the. Where do you think this would have gone? It's straight down, but all of a sudden it's not going straight down. It's like a check mark. Let's go back up there and hit it. Hit it one more time where they flooded. The abandoned tunnels of Niagara Falls. Have you been there, done that? This picture was interesting to me because you could see that the bricks were good. You can build a lot with bricks. We've seen that. You've seen that. You've taught that. And now we see it's ball back underneath it, massive stones of Niagara or body parts of Titans. It's massive cut stones, costly stones cut to great size. You want to read about these stones? Should I do a break? I want to try to remember to read about the stones. Yeah, we showed all those. It's a good time to read about the stones. Hopefully I was sharing. I better double check. Was I sharing? Hola. Oh my goodness. That Aspen is a hard to get to place. This is where the water is. This is where people will live. We can have snow melt in small streams. We're not going to get control of Aspen and Vale and those cities. Those are pipe dreams. Pipe dreams. So I wanted to show you this second, but I was going to say I was talking to RJ and we were talking about how the stones cried out. What motivates me, always motivates me since the first big vision of prove everything Jesus said was true. Okay, I had to prove the stones could cry out. This was one of the verses, and the stones could cry out. In Hebrew, that word is, they cried out in bondage. Israel cried out. Sisera called out, said, hey, guess what I just had? These guys, it's a real calling out. Wonder what verse I was looking at. Habakkuk 2:11. Yeah, this is one, for the stones will cry out of the wall, and the beam of the woodwork will answer it. It does remind me of the Luke that we'll get into about how the stones cry out, the lintel and the beam. So you can see it has it coming. But didn't I say something about First Kings, if I'm not mistaken? That's in the Old Testament. I'm going to look in the BSB 7 here. It took 13 years to complete the entire palace. It was a star fort. He built the house of the forest of Lebanon, 100 cubits long, 50 cubits wide. It's okay. That sounds like one of those. Well, I think I'm wearing a t-shirt of one of those angles anyway. And it had 4 rows of cedar pillows. It's a pillar. The house was roofed with cedar, doorways rectangular, colonnade 50 by 30 additionally, blah, blah, blah. How did he do it? All of these buildings were constructed with costly stones, cut to size, trimmed with saws inside and out from the foundation to costly large stones, 10 cubits, 8 cubits, and above these were other costly stones cut to size and the cedar beams. You know, the cedar is a special kind of wood. In the parlance of the YouTube, that's what you call knocking it out of the ballpark. That's what our goal is to be, is we're proving the Bible were the star fort cities from the very beginning. That's why we proved the stones could cry out. The biogeology, we did that too. That was us. And the Lord isn't shy about it. I'm not ashamed of it. And now we're getting to the Bible. A lot of people, this is a worldwide phenomenon. A lot of people are making money off of the Mudflood / Golden Age past theology because the hits keep coming. Check these videos out.
This happened.
Now learning the Obamas were supposed to meet with the Reiners Sunday night. Former First Lady Michelle Obama was on Jimmy Kimmel Live last night and talked about the family.
Rob and Michelle Reiner are some of the most decent, courageous people you ever want to know. They're not deranged or crazed. What they have always been are passionate people in a time when there's not a lot of courage going on. They were the kind of people who were ready to put their actions behind what they cared about.
So yeah, on the same exact day that Rob Reiner and his wife passed away in a very horrible way, they were scheduled to meet the Obamas. And then a day later, Michelle Obama goes on the Jimmy Kimmel show to
They were scheduled to go on and then they were scheduled to be on 9/11, and then they walked off. And she's referring to them in a weird way. You know, a lot of people, and I'm included, think that's a man. That's a man right there. She'll come out at the right time when they need he, she, it to be the president of the United States. Or at least in their dreams. Like they dreamed about Hillary, oh, couldn't you be their thrillery?
talk about the Reiners. This really gives off Tafari Campbell vibes, the Obama chef who also passed away under very mysterious circumstances, drowning in just 2 feet of water, 2 to 3 feet of water, when he was known to be a champion swimmer. And it's kind of interesting that Michelle Obama had spoken about this on Jimmy Kimmel's show, given the fact that the Reiners were found exactly at 33 p.m. or 3:30 p.m. because Jimmy Kimmel, his building is a Freemason building.
You know what? This is not Barack Obama's type of boy. He likes the young teenage boys. And I don't know if he cooks and eats them like the other ones, but you never hear about him running around with the really young ones. Maybe he eats them with that adrenochrome. This is just theories that people put out there. I'm not your doctor. You saw the disclaimer. This is a religious show. That's RuPaul-esque.
So we're here in Hollywood Boulevard. They're going Jimmy Kimmel Live, right? But look at the top of the building. Look what it says. Freemasonry builds its temples among the nations and in the hearts of men. Look at this. This is no other than Hollywood Boulevard. But look, the Jimmy Kimmel Live building is a Freemasonry building. I'm telling y'all, man, Hollywood is filled with Freemasonry.
Is that, hey, look how it started. I talked a little bit about this yesterday. It's like, wow. Remember when I did that prophecy in 2019 that they'd have a F5, whatever they call the biggest hurricane once, and it hit New Orleans and it was going to mess up flow of the Mississippi, close it, not make it not work as well. All those things come true, and how it was going to be leading to a bankruptcy of our country and cause other storms that we'll not recover from until that's the second shoe dropping. Well, now this is where that check mark went. So they went back because it's flooded. Now this is going to be freezing. How old is this? I don't know.
That was until the public started sending video footage in, and then emergency managers were like, oh, you mean those bridges? So, like it says, with all of these bridges down, people in certain locations, they had to drive 40 miles to the only exit out of these towns to escape these floods. When it comes to the situation over in Washington, they wanted over 100,000 people to evacuate. Entire neighborhoods are underwater. All this rain keeps coming in, all this water keeps coming in, and on top of everything else, the two levees in a span of hours both gave way, ushering in more water. One of the levees that broke is the levee that holds the White River. So it is just a chaotic scene in Washington, and more people are having to evacuate.
Just south of Seattle, a levee failure along the White River, flooding entire neighborhoods, forcing the immediate evacuation of hundreds. Others had to be rescued from fast rising floodwaters, including this man who climbed on the top of his car when he got.
You feel the whole concrete shaking. Oh my.
Pressing. These news articles were coming out right before. For example, this one from CNBC. These 10 US states are best positioned with electricity to power AI data center boom. And I just find it very odd that two of the states in the top three are currently being impacted by historic floods. And this goes on to say, with a wealth of inexpensive, reliable electricity.
Aren't we at the point where it's almost like I'd be surprised if this wasn't happening? Is this a computer?
It lost its wider influence and strength and never fully recovered to its former state. The headquarters in India, still the largest branch, would retreat from messianic prophecies and focus on stabilizing the society in the following years. They transitioned to education and the philosophy of Blavatsky's earlier work, as well as a focus on Indian, and you can judge for yourself if you believe her or not. Born to the aristocracy in Russia in 1831, she would flee from her first marriage at the age of 17 and begin to travel around the world, meeting with all sorts of people and studying many different esoteric topics. While in London in 1851, she would meet with who she originally thought was an Indian prince, India being ruled by many independent kingdoms with allegiance to the British crown at this time. Believing that she had known him since her childhood, he would ask her to help him complete a great mission for humanity.
That's how he got her in bed.
1873, 2 years before the founding of the Theosophical Society. In regards to the Book of Gian, Theosophist Charles Leadbeater, who you may remember from the video on human aura, would later remark, "It appears to be very highly magnetized, for as soon as a man takes a page into his hand, he sees passing before his eyes a vision of the events which it is intended to portray, while at the same time he seems to hear a..."
Where I'm going with this is the unbelievable popularity of this movement that could have only existed when you're looking for spirituality from a world that evolved or was planted by Atlanteans. These guys did it. They're guilty.
Influence affects all of humanity. Along with those such as Buddha or Krishna, Blavatsky believed that Jesus Christ was one of these world teachers. Isis Unveiled laid the claim that the church had been corrupted and was actively removing Eastern mysticism influence. The book even extensively compares the biblical...
See that little move? Anybody know anything about that movement? What'd that Pope do on his forehead? Man, it was like gang signs or something. Do it again, Smiley.
And was actively removing Eastern mysticism influence. The book even extensively compares the biblical texts with the Hindu scripture, the Vedas, Buddhist teachings, and Near Eastern creation myths, attempting to draw parallels to further this point. She saw the Gnostics as the true inheritors of the teachings of Jesus Christ and was
They're talking about Blavatsky because she was influencing the popes and everybody. It was so popular. It started out small, but man, you know what she needs? Aleister Crowley.
supporting various Theosophical Society branches. In London, she would meet with the Society for Cyclical Research and submit to a study of her abilities. However, while also in London, she would upset the president of the Theosophy Society branch there, leading to her leaving to start a competing group, a portent of things to come. The society would soon be damaged by the Kalam affair. A member of the society
We don't know what that is, but it just goes on and on. It keeps growing. Wherever she goes, they end up going like, "Don't listen to her," and then she's there like, "Yeah, listen to me, man."
when the SPR retracted their report in 1986, agreeing that the original researcher did not properly study Blavatsky's claims. After receiving complaints from members in the London Lodge regarding their president, Blavatsky would move there and start a rival lodge to poach members, even going so far as to receive visits from both the poet W.B. Yeats and Mahatma Gandhi. In 1888, she would publish her magnum opus, The Secret Doctrine. While Isis Unveiled was more of an attack at the traditional institutes, The Secret Doctrine was intended to be a much more systematic, doctrinal work that would formalize the beliefs of Theosophy. Also published in 2 volumes, the first titled Cosmogenesis and the second Anthropogenesis. In the preamble,
This has substantially changed content when we're looking at it like we do. And so she grows and she gets fast and they read some of her stuff and it's becoming a worldwide thing. They're believing in Darwin and that nonsense.
animates but organizes the primordial substance, connecting celestial bodies and forming atoms. The Dion Shohans, or Lords of Meditation, would appear, beings of light serving as cosmic architects. This is also a somewhat generic term that can be applied to many celestial beings, although they exist within their own hierarchy. They would labor from higher dimensions using meditation to guide creation. Remember that this process is cyclical, in the same way a breath out creates a
Wow. It looks like we get a whole lesson in what they believe. And, it's Atlantis to them. This is a globe, everyone. Here's the magnetic north on that. This is stupid, but that's where it all came from. Crowley, Blavatsky, Annie Besant, Rosicrucians, Freemasons.
North Pole, they weren't quite fully physical, but had started to grow fluidic bodies. Instead of mitosis, they reproduced by sprouting offspring like branches from a tree. They also had a greater degree of consciousness, having a will to live. The Lemurian race finally saw man become fully physical, but in a giant, grotesque way with misshapen proportions. They lived on the continent of Lemuria, and it was here that sexual reproduction first evolved. During this race, a group of celestial beings would first descend. These were higher spiritual creatures, and through their influence, humanity would develop to full consciousness, free will, and self awareness.
See, I told you. That's what it's the same thing they're telling you today. And it comes right down to, hey, look, we got rockets and radios. And yeah, the guy from Disney, Oppenheimer, no, Werner von Braun, the paperclip, all of that. It's true. It just happened too recently.
Here you see a focus on the intellect and material science. In fact, Blavatsky writes that we are in the later stages of the fifth age and a new race is soon to emerge. In the sixth race, humans are to evolve higher psychic powers, such as energy manipulation and healing. They will become more ethereal, and wisdom and ethics will be the focus. Finally, in the far future, humans will reach the seventh race. Even though Olcott was the official president, Blavatsky was the real power in the society, and after her death, it wouldn't take long for issues to arise. Originally in the society's history, the lodges acted with very limited authority. with all major decisions having to come directly from the headquarters in India. However, over time, they would develop into national units with their own governing bodies. Without Blavatsky being able to rule on disagreements or stop factions, schism.
It's crazy. What I told you, it's becoming a worldwide phenomenon. This these people, that's Andy Bissett. This looks like where I worked, the high school that ended up taking over for the right wing propaganda that the United States deserves everything it got here in the United States, and it did it fair and square because of a Judeo Christian thing, a blah, 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 and Robert E. Lee's good and all of that. It's who built these? Who laid all those cornerstones? Somebody rebuilt.
And a final time in 1909, leaving American Theosophists very splintered. The German-Austrian branch would grow in independence, and after philosophical differences broke out over disagreements relating to the world teacher with Annie, they would break away in 1913, forming a new society, changing their name and expanding to other countries. Going back to Annie Besant, she had originally joined the society after meeting with Charles Leadbeater in London and believed herself to be a clairvoyant. After Olcott died, she would take over as president of the society and became very involved in Indian politics. At the time, India was still under British rule, but opposition to this had been growing over the years. Annie herself was British, but had converted to Hinduism. At the beginning of the First World War, she, along with other prominent people in India, would work to unify their groups into one organization. They would form the Home Rule League in 1916, an organization pushing for the self-governance of India. Although some members of the Theosophical Society, mainly those.
So, in other words, during World War One, this was becoming even more increasingly popular. It was more better than they ever dreamed.
And branches outside of India believed that the group should not focus on politics, the society would contribute significantly to this movement. The schools and institutions they had built taught Indian philosophy, the Vedas, Sanskrit, and worked to instill in their students a sense of national identity and pride. After Annie was arrested in
For
1917 by the
imitating a
British
woman?
for spreading propaganda through a newspaper she had purchased, there would be widespread outcry, with figures such as Gandhi calling for her release. There would even be protests in the United Kingdom and the United States. She would be released later that year and elected as the chairman of the.
That's him or her in the middle there. Jail wasn't good for her. But Gandhi got her out. Boom, Jocko. Boom.
Indian National Congress. However, with the war ending and Gandhi growing in power, the society would become somewhat withdrawn from politics. Gandhi would become the head of the Indian National Congress in 19 shifted the focus of the society to preparing for the coming world teacher. And after her death, the next leader of the society, Annie Besant, would parrot this sentiment in 1896. In 1909, Charles Leadbeater would return to the headquarters in India with an adolescent child, Jiddu Krishnamurti, who he believed was the vehicle of the world teacher. Charles claimed to see the greatest aura he had ever seen, free from any selfishness.
I want you to understand, this was a worldwide movement, and everybody was going like, world teacher, and they primed him. People watched him grow up into his teens, and then he said, you know what? I am so sick of this. I've had it. Not going to do it.
On August the 17th, he would experience a sharp pain at the nape of his neck, only worsening over the next 2 days. He even appeared to fall unconscious, although would later claim that he was always fully aware of his surroundings. While in this delirious state, he claimed to have experienced a mystical union, reaching a state of unity with the universe. This feeling of immense peace would only grow in the following days as the symptoms intensified. His journal at the time contained such excerpts as, "Woke up early with that strong feeling of otherness, of another world that is far beyond all thought. there is a heightening
Man, they were crazy back then, weren't they?
the society, and this, along with a massive convention in 1925 to celebrate the 50th year anniversary, would cause many to believe that the arrival of the world teacher was at hand and that the world was about to dramatically change. Their hopes would be dashed when in 1929, Jiddu would reject his role and leave Theosophy. He would denounce not only the organization, but all organized systems of belief.
He's not a hero. He traveled around trying to, start his own thing. But how many of these cornerstones do we see? I know I see a lot. Our university has a number of them. They were laid in the 1920s, from the 1988s to the 1920s. Some later, but look at, there's as many women dressed up and in charge. This is the hand that rocked the cradle thing, man. It was girls, man.
Although the society did not completely die out, it lost its wider influence and strength and never fully recovered to its former state. The headquarters in India, still the largest branch, would retreat from messianic prophecies and focus on stabilizing the society in the following years.
Here's some other thing I wanted you to see. Oh, Erica Kirk got caught lying about the airplanes, I
Hey,
guess.
Puppet.
We caught her lying. That's what's actually happened. And Candace Owens actually adds to it. By the way, Erica Kirk, what's the best code name for her? Scammy Faye Baker? Is that? Come on.
Bride of Chucky is what they're saying online. I just texted you what people are posting. It's hilarious.
Oh, well,
That's how bad that went, that town
it,
hall.
it went so
yeah.
bad. People are saying she looks like Barbie and Chucky had a daughter. I don't mean to demonize her, but she actually has the eyes of a demon.
Look at your phone. I sent you the picture. It's dead on. It's your dead ringer.
Oh my God.
That's how bad the town hall went.
So she says, so she quotes Erica. Candace says, "You really think I'm going to be on an Egyptian plane when I'm wanting to be with my In-N-Out burger and my chocolate milkshake?" Completely dodging the question by confronting a claim that we never made. Literally no one accused Erica or Charlie of flying on Egyptian planes. And no, you were not pregnant for the last 4 years. Because that's the span that they're
That's one
talking
part
about.
That's a little.
So there's that. They got to keep it playing in the news, the gun, the everything. But Mount Athos, I'm a fan of women. You can't be a woman and go here. You can't be a trans. You can't be a pretend. You can't be a fake. They're going to check you out. Well, they're pretty strict anyway, but a little bit about it. When did it happen? What's up with this?
Get the ticket. Δώσ' τη ζωή αυτή.
In this life, that's what we do each day. We prepare for death,
Για το ταξίδι μας προς τον ουρανό.
and we are joyful about our journey to heaven.
Father Matthew.
Wow. So there's the Starfort roof. 2 years it took to get an appointment to get a visa. Then you have to be invited. They said this was the first news crew invited since 1980.
Away. Not surprisingly, journalists are not exactly welcome. For more than 2 years now, we've been corresponding, negotiating, and frankly pleading for an invitation, but ran into one monastic wall after another. Then, much to our surprise and delight, a few months ago, the monk said, "Okay, come see who we are."
This Byzantine cross marks the border between Mount Athos and the 21st century.
The monks come here, as they always have, for the beauty, the tranquility, and the isolation. But most of all, for this. That's his life.
You have to understand the words that we're saying in today's liturgy are the same words that Christ was saying, the same words that saints from the first century, the second century, the third century, the fourth century.
It happened once in 1981.
The last time you invited a television crew here was 1981.
Correct.
There are 20 monasteries on Mount Athos. Some look like
There are 20. Some are complete star fort cities, and they count that as one monastery, all men, and they claim it's been occupied since the 1400s or before that. It was obviously built way before that. This is in Greece, bordering that part of Asia where it's Turkey. Thessalonica is right in that area. This is the land of the coastlands I was mentioning the other day.
medieval fortresses. Others are so large they resemble small cities. They rise from virgin forests and line the coast, shrouded in mist. There's nothing on this 130 square mile peninsula other than monasteries and monks. Nothing. We expected Mount Athos to be a quiet place, but we couldn't have imagined how quiet until we were dropped off here. The silence is only broken by the occasional tapping on a chiseled piece of chestnut. It's a call to prayer, and it started being used here before there were bells.
Before there were bells, I mean, weren't there bells way before? What is this guy talking about? What a jump ahead. They eat good, they cook, they do welding.
There's remarkably little cancer, virtually no heart disease or Alzheimer's. They must be doing something right in addition to drinking wine at 9 in the morning. They eat 2 meals a day. There's what they call the first meal, which lasts 10 minutes. When they're not praying, they're working. Father Theodosius, born a Lutheran in Germany, is a mechanical wizard who has given the monastery continuous electricity and occasional hot water.
Many Christians in the world, they are looking for.
Kavos got a call last year. His father was dying.
Prior to his death, he was asking if I would go so I could see him one last time.
Reasonable request.
From a father, I think so. My response was negative, though.
You didn't go.
I didn't go. I didn't go because of the fact that monastics do not go to funerals of their relatives or their friends. They remain here at the monastery.
Why we have a trial period, which can last up to 3 years.
I bet you know a lot sooner than 3 years.
Certainly.
Once he's accepted into the community, it's a lifetime commitment. And life never changes here. Never.
It changes sometimes. I'm going to play this one part for you that's like, what?
We didn't understand the words. We didn't really have to. This phrase we knew. Lord, have mercy. The most
Look at that
miraculous
building.
thing about Mount Athos, when we return.
The story will continue after this.
It can be arranged, but it's not easy. First, you'll need a visa issued by the monks. And unless you're an Orthodox pilgrim, it can take a while.
With pilgrims from all over the Orthodox Christian world. Greeks, Bulgarians, Serbs, Romanians, Russians. Remarkable about the clock tower at the Vadopedi Monastery, except for one thing. Check out the time. It's just about 8:30. Now, my watch reads 2:30. That's a 6-hour difference. And there's nothing wrong with their clock or with my watch. It's because the monks on Mount Athos keep Byzantine time. The day starts at sunset, not at midnight. The monks measured time this way during the days of the Byzantine Empire. That's the Christian empire that followed the fall of Rome. And that's the flag they still fly here.
How long ago did the Byzantine Empire fall?
1453. That's a well-known fact.
Well, it wasn't to us, but to Father Serapion, 1453 is the day before yesterday.
This peninsula is the only place in the world that still keeps Byzantine time.
It has maintained this time for some 550 years.
It was harvest time when we arrived, and
we fought against the angels of the dark side, you see, of the devil, the Satan.
Here, the life of Christ is experienced in a genuine way. And this doesn't happen in many other.
They're like big fans. They dedicate everything in their church to the Virgin Mary, and they thank Adolf Hitler for protecting it. I want to see that.
the church's relics are brought out every day, and pilgrims ask for the blessing of the saints. The most sacred relic on the entire peninsula is in this case, fabric said to be part of a garment worn by the Virgin Mary. The irony is that while the Mother of God is revered here, no other woman is permitted to even set foot on Mount Athos. It's been like that for 1,000 years.
All of those people marching out were crazy rich people that paid crazy a lot of money to go there and buy art. 2011, everyone.
Treasures. You stain the silence just by walking in. There's no electricity here, so the icons and mosaics are illuminated only by shafts of sunlight and a few candles. St. Nicholas, the patron saint, John the Baptist, and the Virgin Mary. We were stunned by the magnificence of the art here, but then we ran into Father Maximus, a former professor at the Harvard Divinity School. He told us what we were seeing cannot be described as art.
They're devotional objects, and they're part of the living liturgical life of the church.
For a meeting with Nazi officers who advised them to beside the Parthenon and were about to years ago. The Nazis were coming their way.
I thought this guy was talking about art, you know, it's a living thing. Oh, here's that Nazi stuff, because you guys thought I was just dropping the N word.
Invaded and plundered so many times over the centuries. The monks' most recent brush with history happened only 70 years ago. The Nazis were coming their way.
In the spring of 1941, the Germans invaded and occupied Greece.
They marched up the Acropolis, raised the swastika beside the Parthenon, and were about to invade. The monks asked for a meeting with Nazi officers who advised them to appeal to Hitler himself.
And the monks wrote a letter to Hitler.
A letter was written, and in the letter, the monks identified themselves. They said, "This is who we are." And they asked Hitler to place the Holy Mountain under his personal protection.
What kind of response did you get?
Well, it seems that Hitler liked the idea and accepted the invitation to become the personal protector of the Holy Mountain.
Well, let me just...
Hitler became the personal protector of basically an island devoted to the Virgin Mary, and that whole concept of priests don't get married because that's Roman Catholic. But they're Greek Orthodox, but it's two wing, same bird.
Get that straight. Hitler, the personal protector of the Holy Mountain.
That's right. That's right.
Hitler did send a team of German academics to Mount Athos. They took 1,800 pictures of the mountain's treasures, and it wasn't because they enjoyed photography. Hitler wanted the monastery's riches in Berlin.
The professors were sent as an advance team to catalog the treasures of the holy mountains so that
All right. We don't want to, I don't want to get into too much of the time. Did you see him doing the cooking, the talking? This was fascinating. I was watching it thinking, I don't get to see this stuff too much. And then, like, wait till you see this. Look at that. More art.
Cons in the making. But the ancient treasures, not a chance. They can't even see them. They're under lock and key. It's not a new security system, but it works. Normally, it takes more than one monk to unlock the door, because no one monk is allowed to have all 4 keys at the same time. It's sort of a medieval version of the nuclear launch control.
You keep those keys in your pocket, Flanner?
That sure looked like electricity to me.
Not to.
Father Matthew from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, was given the abbot's blessing to let us into the inner sanctum. Once inside, there was still another hidden door.
Behind the curtain?
We walked into the world of Byzantium. It was hard to imagine that everything here was at least 600 years old, because the brilliance had not faded. There are almost 4,000 icons stored in this monastery alone.
Wow.
The highlight? A 14th century icon of Christ.
I hope you learned something about that. What?
As a human being. So if you ever wondered how one psychedelic experience can change somebody's life, you're about to see the actual mechanism right here. And I don't say this as a metaphor because I know that neuroplasticity is a buzzword now. What I'm talking about is programmable rewiring. These researchers took the
So,
deadliest
yeah, I'm going to
virus-
start it over because that was kind of a jump start right here. Chris Hughes, I don't know if he's on the wrong side of the family or me.
on the planet. Then they rewired this thing and they
Maybe this rabies vaccine that they're using is good, but I know, we're not on the same page on a number of things.
used it to watch psilocybin, which is magic mushrooms, physically repair the brain in real time, all the way down to the exact neurons that are involved. What they discovered in this study changes everything that we thought we knew about consciousness and identity and trauma and even who you are as a human being. So if you ever wondered how one
You're probably wondering how old is this thing here? Is
psychedelic
it?
experience
What's going on here? How old is this? 3 days.
can change somebody's life, you're about to see the actual mechanism right here. And I don't say this as a metaphor because I know that neuroplasticity is a buzzword now. What I'm talking about is programmable rewiring captured with a legitimately weaponized virus, and the implications are unbelievably staggering. So stay with me because the breakthrough isn't just what psilocybin does in the brain.
I'm not on board with monkeying with the vaccines.
Rabies that only jumps one neuron at a time. And they deleted the gene that enables lethal replication. And they added this little green,
Was it those little green men that you actually trust that what they say is going to do when they working on vaccines?
So in other words, psilocybin strengthens your connection to the external world. The world feels more.
I don't know what they mean, like the external world. There is this spirit world we live in. We're spirits in a body that's constantly being rebuilt around us, that someday that same individual will metamorphose into spirit type thing that can absorb the light that's coming our way. I'm telling you, you got to get the metamorphosis, man.
of this study that nobody expected. These researchers decide to silence just one brain region during the psilocybin session. So they chemically shut this brain region down. So the silenced region did not get rewired, but every other active region did. And this is massive. So the wiring is not random at all. It's very context dependent, it's experience dependent, and it is programmable. So essentially what they're saying here in the study is we've proven that when your brain grows, you become what you pay attention to. And that means something pretty extraordinary and actually, I think, extremely dangerous. Because if you know for a fact which pathways are going to be active, then you can choose which pathways are going to get strengthened. And if you can silence the ones that cause fear and rumination and anxiety and trauma, you can weaken them big time. So we now know that if you want to strengthen your visual processing, you can show visual stimuli.
Anybody? Now, why did they shut down all of the research on psilocybin and everything about 12, 13 years ago? So many studies were coming out. It was going to cure post-traumatic stress syndrome, and then it went away. Nobody talked about it because they're experimenting for the wrong way. I'm a promoter of the natural thing, these vaccinated, whatever. Wow. Yeah, I would like to go get one of those drones and check that out myself, Zach Macanudo. I want to double see I'm sharing.
During the session, if you want to reduce anxiety loops, you can quiet down the insula or the amygdala during peak plasticity moments. If you want to reshape an entire human identity, you can guide someone's attention into new self and depression. But this is the first time in science we've identified the exact circuits that change during a transformative experience like this. We are seeing the real life.
Man, these cities are going to get judged so hard. Have you ever heard of Roddy McDowell?
Was hiding one of the biggest secrets in Tinseltown. And Roddy McDowell was literally busted by the FBI for an illegal pirating ring that might ruin his career.
Because inside those reels were truths the stars never wanted exposed. $42 and a desperate mother. Roddy McDowell loved cinema obsessively. He did not just watch films. He collected them, archived them, and filmed everything around him. For years, it seemed like an innocent hobby. But on December 18th, 1974, FBI agents raided his home and seized over 1,000 reels of film and videotapes. The obsession that would one day make him a federal suspect began in 1940, during the Second World War. German bombs were falling on London. Roddy McDowell was 12 years old, and his mother was making an impossible decision. The Luftwaffe had been pounding British cities for weeks. The government launched Operation Pied Piper, one of the largest evacuations in modern history. Over 1.5 million people were moved out of major cities, mostly children sent to the countryside or overseas to escape the destruction. The McDowell family chose America. Roddy's father, Thomas, enlisted in the military and stayed behind. That left Winifred McDowell alone with 2 children and a desperate hope that Hollywood might notice her son. She had always dreamed of being an actress herself. It never happened, so she poured every ounce of that ambition into Roddy. By the time they boarded the ship to New York, he had already appeared in 16 British films. He had won poetry contests at 4 years old. He had taken elocution lessons at 5. His sister, Virginia, also acted, and together they had won nearly every drama award at their school over 4 years. But none of that mattered when they arrived. Wartime currency restrictions meant they could only bring a tiny amount of money out of Britain.
Oh, don't worry about Roddy McDowell. He ends up in a gay trafficking Rock Hudson scandal. Don't forget the story, the background. It's blah, blah, blah. Oh, he made it. He made it big.
He watched it once and knew this was the kid. Roddy's real-life story of escaping war, combined with his polished accent and natural ability, made him stand out from every other child actor in the city. His first American film was Manhunt in 1941. He played a young boy helping a man escape Nazi-occupied Europe. The role felt uncomfortably close to his own life. Just
Man, they really emphasized that sticking the tongue thing out. He was more popular, as popular.
compared him to Shirley Temple, the biggest child star of the era. Fox signed him to a 7-year
I'm just saying, that girl was trafficked hard.
contract. The kid who arrived broke was suddenly one of Hollywood's most valuable young actors. His mother's desperate gamble had paid off. The boy who became the breadwinner. During World War II, audiences saw Roddy on screen and felt something familiar. He played kids going through hard times, finding strength when everything was falling apart. People wrote letters telling him how much his films meant to them.
Look at that globe in the room. So they made him a star, and he was big-time gay.
Years old, playing material most adult actors would find challenging. He pulled it off. Then came Molly and Me in 1945. He played a moody teenager convinced his father hated him because he resembled his dead mother. One scene required him to break down crying. The next required physical comedy and funny impressions. Audiences loved seeing range.
Man, the guy was setting the world on fire. It was burning.
Was maturing. The clock was ticking, and everyone in Hollywood knew it. He had to choose. Stay a child star and fade, or reinvent himself and prove he was more than just a cute face. There was a play in pre-production based on a real murder. In 1924, two wealthy Chicago teenagers named Nathan Leopold and Richard Loeb kidnapped and killed 14-year-old Bobby Franks to prove they could commit the perfect crime. They believed they were geniuses, above the law, beyond morality.
That's the time of the Theosophists Society. He was going to be put into position to tape like the Epstein of his time. Oh, no charges were ever filed against the man. He got away with it. Everybody found out. But until then, it was Rock Hudson and Tab Hunter and the boys doing their Neil and Bob imitations.
The following year, Midnight Lace cast him as Malcolm Stanley, a creepy young man circling Doris Day in a psychological thriller. Roddy's presence made every scene feel dangerous. Audiences who remembered the sweet Welsh boy now felt uneasy watching him. That was exactly the point. He returned to Broadway in 1960 for Camelot, playing Mordred, the villain who brings down the kingdom. Completely while she recovered. That was just one disaster among dozens. Cleopatra became the most chaotic, expensive, and scandal-plagued production in Hollywood history. The budget ballooned to $44 million, over $450 million today. No film to overshadow the film entirely. Through it all, Roddy stayed professional. He showed up on time. He knew his lines. He did not get involved in the chaos. People who worked on Cleopatra remembered him as one of the few calm present a party, and something shifted. Clift was already one of the most celebrated actors in Hollywood. He had just finished A Place in the Sun. Critics called him the next great American leading man. He was also deeply troubled, privately gay, and self-destructive in ways few people understood. Roddy fell hard. Within months, he made a decision that shocked everyone who knew him. He moved to New York, not for a role, not for a project, just to be closer to Montgomery. For the next 2.5 years, Roddy nearly vanished from Hollywood. He turned down scripts. He skipped auditions. His entire...
You know, it was Cliff and Roddy sitting in a tree. It didn't work out. The troubled man made himself go away.
Though Roddy rarely spoke about it publicly. What happened next is harder to explain. Roddy forgave him, almost immediately. He stayed in Montgomery's life as a friend and protector. In 1956, Montgomery left a dinner party at Elizabeth Taylor's house. He had been drinking. His car slammed into a telephone pole. His jaw shattered. His nose collapsed. His cheekbones cracked. Elizabeth found him choking on his own teeth and pulled them from his throat so he could breathe. Roddy photographed Montgomery's recovery, images of him trying to smile again, practicing expressions in mirrors. He never published them. The FBI raid. By the early 1970s, Roddy had built something most studios did not have. A private archive of 337 films stored in his North Hollywood garage. Out of those, 160 were rare 16mm prints. Citizen Kane, Lassie, Come Home, My Friend Flicka. Films that the studios were literally throwing away because they did not think old movies had value. Roddy bought Errol Flynn's entire personal collection from Flynn's widow. He spent thousands transferring films to Sony U-matic tape, a format that came before VHS and Betamax. He believed tape would last longer than film. He only charged friends what he remembered paying, sometimes $75 for 3 films. His garage became a mini museum of lost helicopter rides to the beach in full costume. He captured footage of actors sipping drinks through straws while wearing orangutan faces. He recorded the small, strange human moments that happen on any film set, but usually disappear the moment production wraps. In 1974, he sat through the full 3.5-hour makeup session just to appear briefly on The Carol Burnett Show and share his behind-the-scenes footage with the audience. No one had paid him to preserve those moments. No one had asked. He simply understood that something worth remembering was happening, and he refused to
And you know, all of the other tapes and the crimes, it just kind of went away.
To something close to Roddy's original vision. Critics who finally saw the proper cut called it a lost gem, a strange and beautiful film that deserved better than it got. But by 1998, it was too late for Roddy to enjoy the vindication. His acting career had its own resurrection. In 1985, he was cast in Fright Night as Peter Vincent, a washed-up television host whose vampire hunter show gets canceled because nobody cares about monsters anymore. The role hit close to home. Roddy had just been fired from a real horror program and was feeling like Hollywood had moved on without him, but Fright Night became a surprise hit. He saved letters from famous friends. He held on to home videos that captured stars at their most vulnerable. And before he died, he gave all of it to Boston University with one extraordinary condition. No one could open the archive until 2098, 100 years after his death. Legal experts were stunned. The only reason to seal something that long is to protect people who are still alive. Whatever those diaries contain, Roddy believed the world was not ready to see it. He wanted everyone mentioned in those pages to be long gone before the truth came out. People close to Roddy have speculated about what the archive might hold. Evidence of Elizabeth Taylor's troubled marriage to Eddie Fisher, which Roddy witnessed firsthand. Letters about Rock Hudson's AIDS diagnosis and how the industry covered it up for years. Hudson died in 1985, but Roddy had known the truth long before the public did. He never said a word. There are supposedly home movies showing Judy Garland at private...
It's because it was covering up everything that's weird, man. Here's something that's not weird. I am sharing the screen, so that's good. I would like to wave and say hi, but you got to learn about this.
The number 1 appeared as the first digit about 30% of the time, while 9 appeared less than 5% of the time. This wasn't random chance. It was a precise mathematical pattern now called Benford's Law. The law states that in many naturally occurring datasets, the first digit follows a specific logarithmic distribution. 1 appears 30.1% of the time, 2 appears 17.6%, 3 appears 12.5%, and so on, decreasing to 9 at only 4.6%. This distribution has been verified across thousands of different datasets from completely unrelated domains. Financial data follows Benford's Law. Stock prices, tax returns, accounting records, and economic statistics all show this first digit pattern. In fact, forensic accountants use Benford's Law to detect fraud. Fabricated financial data almost never follows the pattern because humans inventing numbers tend to distribute first digits more evenly. The IRS uses it to flag suspicious tax returns. But here's what's strange. The pattern appears everywhere. River lengths follow Benford's Law. So do earthquake magnitudes, molecular weights of chemicals, numbers in scientific papers, baseball statistics, death rates, file sizes on computers, and the half-lives of radioactive isotopes. Why would the first digits of river lengths follow the same pattern as stock prices? What connects earthquake magnitudes to account?
The same program they're trying to run on everybody with their algorithms to set up a universe where you'd be like thinking of the jab saying, "Thank you, sir. Can I have another?"
Accounting fraud detection. These systems have nothing in common. Geology, finance, sports, chemistry, and computing are completely different patterns to repeat consistently across different scales and domains. The existence of Benford's law suggests that even in apparently chaotic, unrelated.
So they really like to stretch it out, you know. They really do. There's a 3-body problem too. He stretches it out.
If the system were truly random and unpredictable, trajectories should spread out uniformly through all possible states. Instead, they cluster around specific geometric structures, mathematical forms that emerge from equations without being chaos. Evidence that randomness itself follows rules, suggesting those rules were written by something. Quantum rules produce complex, apparently random patterns, what he called computational irreducibility. Computational irreducibility means the only way to know what a system will do is to run it. You can't predict the outcome faster than the system range where complexity is possible. Slightly different values would produce either boring order or useless chaos. Reality appears fine-tuned to sit at the computational sweet spot. If you were programming a simulation, you'd want to use simple rules that generate complex behavior through iteration. Exactly what cellular automata consistently produce a specific type of complexity. Cloud formation follows fluid dynamics that generate characteristic fractal structures. But this just pushes the question back. Why do diverse physical processes chaos? Turbulence also exhibits intermittency, brief bursts of intense activity separated by calmer periods. The statistics of intermittency follow multifractal distributions with specific scaling properties. Different universal behavior of complex systems with many interacting components. When such systems accumulate stress or energy gradually and release it suddenly, they naturally evolve toward a critical state exhibiting power law behavior. But this holographic principle suggests reality is fundamentally informational. The Bekenstein bound quantifies the maximum information that can be contained in a region under all boundary conditions and find solutions satisfying all constraints simultaneously.
They're determined to try to convince you you're on a globe. It's crazy. Now, they say that Benford Law goes back to 1881, but we know that's not how it has to be. In their rewrite, it always works that somebody else discovered it again later. These guys that discovered it works everywhere in 1938. Thanks, Frankie. Way to go, dude. Are these numbers, they seem like they're prime for investigation, You're going to prop up the bell curve and stuff. That's what they do. IQ scores. They're nuts. They want people to be gay. How hard is it to make a train? It can't be that hard. When you have the steam power, way to go, New West reset. It looks like it takes about 20, 25 guys, including maybe 4 or 5 guys to drive the train, as these are the rails and the railroad ties and all of the connectors. Just build as it goes. Just lay it over where they had them previously when they rediscovered it. And they probably found all the materials, figured out how to use it, and said, loaded 16 tons. I get the steam running, up and running, throw some wood 2x4s, tie it with rope and build because it's easy. You see, this train is moving at a walking pace, you know, it was easier. They can do it. This is all a psyop. What in the world you been up to, Vara?
Where the hell have you been, man?
I've been
You
trying to
left
get.
me all alone for such a long time, man.
I've been going to school, doing this and that. And the other thing, I should show you some of the artwork I did. I made 3 murals of masks, 2 of them out of labradorite, and the other one out of like Labras Lucy, tiger eye, and some white garnet. Got an A in that class. So I'm
Well,
laying
he's
it
only been
down,
busy.
man. You
He's been
didn't
busy.
get drafted. You didn't have to go to war. That's good.
And I won't have to. I'm out of the reserves. So that's
Nice.
I did a good thing, smart thing.
What is the update going on there? You're on the border of Russia. I mean, Russia, is it Russia or China? Is it both?
Well, geopolitically, when it comes to our bordering neighbors here in Finland, Russia, we cut financial ties to them a long time ago since the war started. So now we're, making businesses go out of business. Companies go out of business every week in a record rate right now.
Oh, really?
Due to things like that. But
I thought that was
it's
around
been-
the corner. I didn't know that was happening now. I thought you guys had a little bit of reserve of that liquefied gas.
There's oil here too, but they won't tell you about it or let anybody explore it or discover it for themselves.
They got us
And,
right where they want us. It's a judgment, not a restoration. Stick around. I want you to see some of this stuff because I got too much mind blowing going on, man.
I'm here to blow my mind with you.
Well, we're done with that one.
In a long time.
So Ryan Socash, look at all of this is fairly recent. How much energy did those knuckleheads need? It helps if I turn off my microphone when I do this.
North America. Previously, production in the US and Canada had relied primarily on handcrafted goods and agriculture, but the introduction of machinery and large-scale manufacturing completely transformed that landscape. The first factories emerged in the northeastern United States, where rivers provided a reliable from pollution and displacement to economic decline, and in some cases, outright abandonment. So here's my question. How did a city that once symbolized progress and opportunity become synonymous with urban decay and lost potential? And what remains of that city today? Stay tuned to find out as we uncover the forgotten history of the Niagara Falls Mills District. I'm your host, Ryan Sokash, and you're watching It's History. Let's start with one.
What would it be like to have so many? I mean, this guy makes. I mean, he's got all the graphics. Look at that. It's. But who needs this much power? How many people were there? This had to be pre-reset. I know the Lord has some mysteries coming because this makes no sense with their timeline. And we've known that for way too long for us to keep. We need to think, how many people were there? When was this reset? I know that these things were Bible towns.
The falls had been a center for travel and negotiation between indigenous nations long before European settlers arrived. However, the arrival of European settlers in the 17th century brought challenges and changes that would alter the lives of the natives forever. The first Europeans.
I like that. Ryan doesn't even have his name up anymore. It's just his last name. He's like Cher. I'm the one name guy now. I'm Sokash.
He never saw them for himself. Even so, his description is one of the earliest written records we have. It wouldn't be until 1678 that Franciscan priest Louis Hennepin became the first European to witness and record the grandeur of the falls.
Of course, this is all bullshit. Sokash, show me the frickin' falls.
Asset, with settlers eyeing the rushing water of the river not for ceremony but for commerce. This shift set the stage for the region's industrial transformation.
You know what? I'm an angry capitalist, Mara. You guys angry capitalists? You got any angry capitalists in Finland because they really screwed us over. We were supposed to okay, we don't all have to be rich. We'll just settle for that fine middle class life. Where'd that go?
Well,
Where did that go?
What choice do you have other than to be an angry capitalist in this world?
I guess you could
You have to capitalize.
You take some of those.
You're gonna be angry because the system is so fucked up. When you realize,
you'd have to take some fluoride. I mean, a salicylic fluoridic acid, which is the active ingredient in Prozac. I could build one of these. If I had enough time, I could build water wheel like this. I'd have to go scrap the gears from one of the thousands of dead mines around Colorado where I live, but I know how to put it back together.
Soon other industries followed suit, leading to an economy increasingly based on mass production. The expansion of transportation, particularly railroads and canals, helped connect industrial centers with rapidly.
That's just freaking, I mean, that's a lot of freaking trees, man. Going through a swampland. Good work, you guys.
Growing markets. This transformation in particular had a direct impact on the Falls region, where water power became a crucial.
What are we looking at here, Vara? I mean, okay, we are eyeing it for some power, and now we got tunnels running out at all different lengths, powering up. This is what they say, if I'm not mistaken, the Chicago Exposition, the big one that Nikola Tesla designed, got its power from the border of New York and Canada. Did that ship the electricity thing to Chicago because it was 1998 or something like that? It was a big deal.
But wasn't it Tesla, though, who provided the electricity, according to the narrative, even? The official one?
Let me look it up. Tesla Power Chicago Exhibition.
Because I think that was the kind of the, reason or side effect from having Tesla, sponsor it in a way that, hey,
do you
I have this great tech and I'm going to, provide electricity for the whole festival with this tech that I will show you.
Do you have screw-in light bulbs or do you have the two plugs that plug in?
I have Well, I have very few lights in my house, but it's like one of those long, what do you call them, tubes?
Because that's the type of
Fluorescent light tube, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, fluorescents have those, and I know some places in Europe. That's what Tesla had to use because he was fighting with Thomas Edison. Here's the electric light getting into it, 1885. I know they'll show something about that. Here, the Tesla coil, they're everywhere. Where would we be without it? We wouldn't have been able to do it. These financial panics, it happens. Here's Twain. He had screw-in light bulbs. They were electrifying cows. There it is. The Columbian in 1893 got the rotary converter patent. World's Columbian. I might have been calling it. Nope. The Chicago World's Fair, it was the World Columbian. And that's something because that's the goddess Columbia. That's their Virgin Mary. He did it. He got it. Does it
Columbia as a
I'm looking for it to say I got it from the Niagara. The power. It was efficiency of AC/DC. So that's how they had to prove it. Rotating magnetic spheres, including the egg of Columbus. A device exhibited. Let's see it. There it is. Look at that. The egg of Columbus. That looks like quite a. It could get it up and spinning, man. That would sell me. I'd say, do you have the pocket version yet?
We don't see what you're showing, man.
No way.
Let me see.
I was showing such good stuff, man. The egg.
Oh, wow. I just, in my mind, started thinking Niagara. I broke it down. You have 3 words there. You have Nile, egg, and Ra, the sun god.
Right.
So
here's his stomping grounds. As I was hunting for, something about, the different types of plugins. But it was the 1800s. They're saying they invented all of these things. Guided torpedoes. How do you go to war without Nikola Tesla from 1880 on? They really claim he did these things in Colorado Springs.
Well, plenty of evidence to suggest that.
Nobody else in the world mattered except white people in the United States history. And that's what infected the world. That's why China's mad. That's why Russia, Japan's mad. They considered Irish not white people. And they weren't big fans of Jewish people either.
Well,
a lot of things going on here. That Charlie Kirk murder and everything else. I guess we're not going to get to, but I had heard it. He flipped the switch from the whole Niagara thing, but I got to keep moving, man.
A resource for industrialization. And it's really no wonder. You see, since the 18th century, European settlers exploring the region were awestruck by the sheer force of the falls. The idea of harnessing that power for industrial purposes began taking shape, and the first small water-powered mills were built in the area. By 1759, a string of mills.
The stop, stare. That's a pretty high quality picture. I don't really see any ruins, built into the side. Here's something down here that looks like it.
Well, to me, it does look like that.
It does, because you think these were
architecture there and design.
Like what is the real top of the mountain? Yeah. Is it this is the cliff right here? Then it comes down here.
Way down, man.
We get some arches up here for train, it looks like.
Well, we have buildings and areas in Helsinki, in the capital of Finland,
Right.
where it's like the street level is like the top of a huge freaking like a wall built in a castle. You know, you could
A
think
little
that it
bit
goes
more
miles
here.
now.
Because in reality, this probably goes all the way down as one continuous building.
Yeah, obviously.
Then wasn't that
Natural
long ago.
elements though changed it.
Right. There you go. That guy, he's in on it. But one of these is really the problem, I think, started. I'm not ready to say steam as itself or winding up copper and making electricity is bad, or is growing corn bad. But when you change it into an industrial, you have to make enough for an army, because then you're thinking, I need enough to feed an army. Let's use the army. Oh, I got to think, this guy could do it underground. Well, imagine if I could shoot down a ship. It's yeah. I hope I wasn't going too long without showing things, but we're back showing things now. One bit of power.
These turbines generated power to light streets and supply small local industries. However, as the demand for electricity continued to rise, the direct current system proved insufficient for a rapidly expanding industrial landscape. The true breakthrough came in 1896 when Nikola Tesla and George Westinghouse implemented the first alternating current system at Niagara Falls. Alternating current allowed electricity to be transmitted over long distances without significant.
Where would we be without it? We wouldn't be where God wanted us to be, because they found these everywhere. In their argument, Thomas Edison wanted to build, DC converters every mile. There's no big examples of like, no, he spent all this money and did it. It was, this is what we found. These were the buildings. The question is, did Jesus Christ know about steam power? Would he have been surprised by electric lights? Would the Messiah have been like, oh my goodness, I could have never imagined a locomotive or anybody going around singing those, everybody's doing a brand new dance now?
The Westinghouse system was a turning point in electrical history, as it was this that validated the AC model for industrial scale power distribution and established Niagara Falls as a global leader in electricity generation. From that moment on, the alternating current system was adopted worldwide, becoming a global standard
So
for
if you're looking
electrical
for a date,
transmission.
it's 1893. Go so cash.
Power to the rail lines connecting the Falls, Queenstown, and Chippewa. However, the most significant investment took place on the American side, where the Niagara Falls Power Company was founded. By 1918, it had consolidated multiple companies into just one, enabling a more efficient distribution of
They
electricity.
just stop the river and build those things. Just like when they built the Hoover Dam, they just like, oh, we just stopped the Colorado and diverted it for a little while, brought it back online, and now it's all good. We got this metal stuff that never rusts. It's still there working. Go Niagara. It's your birthday.
Railroads were extended, connecting Niagara Falls to Buffalo, Toronto, and other major industrial cities. Bridges and highways, such as the Rainbow Bridge, were built, facilitating trade and workforce mobility across the border. And beyond that, the city was transformed residentially, and both the waterworks and public lighting were improved, turning the Falls region into a model of urban development.
And here we are.
Did you see that town, man? When did they say that picture's from? 1900?
Yeah, 1920s, I think, that last couple one. Everybody's talking about the serpent seed. RJ sent me, I think, this one, and I had been looking at it. They're all pulling it out of the hat. Oh, yeah, everybody believed demons were Nephilim, but they're not reading the Bible right. Earlier, I talked about this place, and this is one of the pictures I got off the Wikipedia. This is wrought iron or wood, but it's not. It's what they use. It's still there. They're claiming they've been living on site here in an all-male monastery for 560 years. That's an aqueduct going behind it.
They did very good job 500 years ago building that thing. Very impressed.
It's only one of the many.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in Greece, right next to Turkey, where they wrote the letters to the Revelation at. Definitely the Lord knew about these type of buildings. What they built over the top, we can't be sure, but we know, something happened. These monastic things. This is that Mount Athos, where the monks say they're still doing it from the Byzantine times, connects back to that same false timeline of, this is when Constantine saw a sign and the cross in the sky and said, I'll be a Christian and I'm the Holy Roman Empire. So everybody has to accept the Christian faith and we'll take it from here. And the Byzantines were like part of when Rome fell, Byzantium kept being Greek Orthodox Christians. That was too much of a mouthful. But they live here. They still live here. It's Starford City. People pay fortunes to go here. Did you see any of that, Vara? The first part? Because I'm gonna
About the buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
About
I
the
know,
Mount
man.
Athos. Because I want to show
Yeah,
in case somebody didn't see that again. Look at this.
Yeah, I've looked at a lot of Tartaria stuff, and yeah,
First off,
worldwide.
they
you know?
love the Nazis. Did you know that?
Well, some people have good reasons to love the Nazis.
They did.
In the spring of 1941, the Germans invaded and occupied Greece.
They marched up the Acropolis, raised the swastika beside the Parthenon, and were about to invade. The monks asked for a meeting with Nazi officers who advised them to appeal to Hitler himself.
And the monks wrote a letter to Hitler.
A letter was written, and in the letter, the monks identified themselves. They said, this is who we are. And they asked Hitler to place the Holy Mountain under his personal protection.
What kind of response did you get?
Well, it seems that Hitler liked the idea and accepted the invitation to become the personal protector of the Holy.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Vara, be honest with me. If he was wearing a yarmulke with his voice and inflection and somebody said this is a rabbi, would you believe it? Or would you say, no, I think he's not a rabbi?
I would say that he looks like a rabbi, so yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
That's
Holy Mountain.
Well, let me just get that
But
straight.
he's speaking facts, man. I mean, I remember that from the documentary Europa Last Battle. They covered that the monks asked Hitler for protection.
That's right. That's right.
Hitler did send a team of German academics to Mount Athos. They took 1,800 pictures of the mountain's treasures, and it wasn't because they enjoyed photography. Hitler wanted the monastery's riches in Berlin.
The professors were sent as an advance team to catalog the treasures of the Holy Mountains so that a selection of things could be made to be removed.
Didn't happen, did it?
No, it didn't. Not a single thing was taken.
I wonder why.
Believes they have the Russians to thank for that.
because it wasn't part of faking the war, but still, they eat good. They have tourists that come and buy very expensive art, but most people never see it This was from 2011, and they allowed a TV crew in. Look at the locks on these doors.
Factory dates from the 12th century, and since the 12th century, the food here has been free. Fatopedi has been supported by rich benefactors, emperors, princes, kings, and today, partially by pilgrims with deep pockets who commission icons in the making. But the ancient treasures? Not a chance. They can't even see them. They're under lock and key. It's not a new security system, but it works. Normally, it takes more than one monk to unlock the door, because no one monk is allowed to have all 4 keys at the same time. It's sort of a medieval version
Come on.
of the nuclear launch control.
Just to get into your house? What if you're being chased and somebody's threatening to kill you and you're trying to run inside to your house, man? It takes you 10 minutes.
They would be in
You're
front
dead.
of the door with a gun. This is their most sacred vault, Lara. This is where they
Where's
have
this from? Israel?
the Greece,
Oh.
an island near Greece. And it's, they think they are in Byzantium. They're monks that convert, but like the guy in charge of the 4 keys, he's from Wisconsin.
You keep
Well, the
those
next
keys in
pope's
your
gonna be
pocket,
from
Father?
Wisconsin.
Try not to.
Father Matthew from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, was given the abbot's blessing to let us into the inner sanctum. Once inside, there was still another hidden door.
Behind the curtain?
We walked into the world of Byzantium. It was hard to imagine that everything here was at least 600 years old, because the brilliance had not faded. There are almost 4,000 icons stored in this monastery alone.
Wow.
The highlight? A 14th century icon of Christ. Every monk will tell you the sole purpose of life on Mount Athos is to get closer to Christ every day. And they say total union with Christ is only possible when they leave this world.
They make it seem like they're normal. I don't know. This is our world today. I guess I'll look at a little bit.
These were destroyed, but their spirits remained. And these disembodied spirits, neither fully angel nor fully human, became what later generations called demons or unclean spirits.
You see, I'm going to argue against the Bible doesn't teach that. For it just doesn't. And I'm going to move on here. What do we got here? The founding of a new era. I appreciate this guy. I think he's digging into some stuff.
The Milk Abbey Library, and these are the official photos of the Milk Abbey Library. And I'll just let you know from personal experience, share this with you and just enjoy the beautiful views of Milk Abbey. And it's definitely a building that doesn't make a lot of sense, and you can research the historical account of it on your own, but what you'll find is it was founded, yes, they use that word, in the 11th century before the First Crusade. They also tell us that the current structure was built at the start of the 18th century. So once again, even though you have this more elaborate storied history or line of history, a number of years that exists in Europe, they oftentimes go with the same explanations that most of the incredible older buildings are all from 1700 and newer. There's a couple older castles that you'll see, and then when they have a little bit of difficulty trying to explain the elaborate, ornate detail in the architecture, they'll say, well, it was a royal family that had infinite money and infinite resources, and it was this rich family, or it was this pious bout of devotion to the worship of God that led to the construction of this incredible edifice in the middle of nowhere. You'll find these same stories across the United States and Europe. The only thing that differs is the timeline. With Milk Abbey, though, you'll see that there's a little something different with its beautiful decorative detail. And yes, I know I use that adjective a lot because one of the things that I was trained to be as a lecturer is that there's certain adjectives that you use over and over again. So look, since you're the channel members, you get a little bit more of an inside view into my thoughts. And what you should really know about me is that I'm somebody who always tries to find a different exploration behind an explanation. I was never willing to accept the explanations that were given to us as fact, because when you start to compare facts from different sources, you'll find that there's too many discrepancies to ignore. The account of Milk Abbey, you have numerous discrepancies. We're told that the abbey was destroyed by fire on multiple occasions. We're told that the abbey suffered from plague and numerous other factors that caused its decline. Yet somehow the physical structure managed to survive. Somehow this abbey still stands today. But the real jewel of this abbey is its library. And the account was actually relayed by an author who had found out exactly what had happened and managed to piece together the overall story. Now, that overall story did not appear in the film that we discussed in the exploration last week, but it did appear in the novel. And Prime Explorers, when you contact me, if you're so inclined to, we can discuss exactly how that state of affairs came about and what's the background with the author. And I can also share some insider academic information with you that verifies that story is true. Now, could this insider academic information all be fabrications? Could it all be lies? Absolutely. But there's a few too many consistencies to ignore and a few too many things that just happen to fall in place perfectly for the account to be fabricated. There's just something about many of these structures, though, and we haven't really gotten to Europe yet, with the exception of a few explorations, namely Malta and St. Petersburg, where we've seen some of the more decorative detail. And we'll be told that all these incredible achievements were done well before the Industrial Revolution, which is what our favored defenders of the mainstream narrative like to point to in terms of how all these achievements in the United States were pulled off in the 19th century. But when you look at the founding or the quote unquote construction date for these elaborate edifices across Europe, you don't have that excuse. So, what's really going on with Milk Abbey? Well, in sharing with channel members, Milk Abbey was a true surviving outpost from the old world. A lot of the monasteries and a lot of the abbeys are exactly that. They were the outposts that were designed to preserve knowledge. Now, why do you explain these outposts being allowed to survive to this day? Because the current powers that be, or the current agenda that's pushing the land towards whatever it wants, understood that these were the centers of knowledge and learning, and that these were the places to be controlled. And then you'll ask the question, well, why isn't it in the V in Rome? And you're probably also asking, well, why are you talking in code? Why don't you just say it? Because there's certain word associations that you cannot use that'll have certain attention brought to the videos. And I'll admit to all of you, my intention on these videos is to try to reach as many people as possible. Am I going to make certain compromises?
I mean, look at this is an abbey that's supposed to be. This is where I go to church. You can go to church here.
It's the golden spiral.
These things are real, you know. That there's just another stairway.
Location, and to let you know that this library, yes, there's probably something great located in the V in Rome. There's no doubt about it. But I believe the true old world library is located in Milk, Austria. This would be the most sensible place to hide it from a lot of prying eyes, and oftentimes it's easy to hide things in plain sight. There's a lot of tourism aspects towards Austria and even educational aspects that will initially draw you to Milk. But then once you start to look into it, you'll find that they'll try to direct you to other abbeys very subtly. They'll say, well, this abbey, and we're looking at pictures of the Milk Abbey, and this is one of the incredible stairways that's actually between the library and other accesses to the abbey. They'll tell you that it's just kind of a boring abbey. Yes, doesn't it just look like a really boring place?
Doesn't look that looks expensive to me. So I also East Bay walls, 150 miles. They say they think somebody built them around this time. They don't know. Many basketball size. No written documentation. Just that's all you get. You know, they don't show you. It's something. People know they're there.
But people don't question.
Companies
Up in the East Bay Hills, there are a collection of stone walls that people have been discussing for well over 100 years, sort of debating and guessing at who built them, when they were built, why they were built. There's no evidence that they're interconnected in any way, but they're seen pretty far north in the Berkeley Hills, all the way down to around San Jose. So one thing that becomes evident as soon as you start looking into this is they've been the source of this sort of romantic speculation for well over 100 years. This is something that's been going on since the early 1900s. The speculation seems almost comical. There are all sorts of theories.
Does that seem comical to you, Vara? I mean, somebody must have taken some time. The god left them there. Of course they, once
Well, it's
again,
funny because they are, of course they're, making a show, saying what they probably have a script. They're just reading of it. So they probably don't even know better, but they're just, somebody's pulling the strings and telling them what to say. So
exactly. That's why we don't judge people. Everybody's been millstoned. Everybody was raised with a globe on their teacher's desk. Our eyes struggle to get open. It's work. It's a full-time job. And they keep trying to drag you back to the Super Bowl, to the Lady Gagas of the world. I wanted to have a show tonight where I just asked a bunch of questions because, I just finished a semester. I haven't got my grades yet. I'm going through what's going to be going on. So, hey, look how fast that Theosophical Society took off in the United States, 1886, England, 1888. I was trying to express earlier that's a theosophy based on evolution and, free love for women, dress up like men if you want to. It took a break from 1953, but 1991, it's a real thing. These people did it. These guys, they didn't try to hide it. They liked white power, man, and the rest of the world said, we're not white. And they said, well, hey, be bohemian. They're into it. Esoteric. Right now in my algorithm, Conspiracy R Us, he's got a new video out, how to meditate. There you go. 3 people watching my backup channel. That's new. There's a shout out to those 3 people. But he's all into praying now, looking for meditation. He did mention a little bit of, praying, is it God? But it's brand new. Everybody knows something's going on, whether it's psychedelics, trauma, near-death experiences.
Oh, getting out of
We just saw this guy. He was into theosophy.
This connection between trauma and meditation, and apparently the Dalai Lama asserted that experienced meditators can deliberately induce this state that is similar to the near-death experience. But apparently no study as of this point has investigated the phenomena empirically, and that was back in 2018. So very interesting. So I started looking into shaman sickness, which is this concept that certain shamans who are chosen by the spirits, they get ill as a result of these spirits harassing them. And it's not until the beginning it can cause illnesses. And there's this paper talking about this one tribe, and they lay out this whole initiation. This dark night of the soul, it's caused by spirits that are causing this initial period of dis-ease. These spirits are causing this phenomenon, in my opinion. And then it ultimately message is, but somebody just told me that Jesus died for my sins and that he was buried and resurrected on the third day according to scripture. And did I believe that? Did I believe Jesus is who he says he was and he died for my sins? And I believed it. And what happened was several months later, on a specific day, I received that gospel message again, and I affirmed, yeah, I believe that. And what happened shortly after was,
So it's a witness thing, but when he was laying this out about these people, the apparitions and what happened, I mean, he was totally into the Kundalini thing.
old, they went into these ecstatic, that what caused a lot of my phenomena were actually spirits. And I'm gonna, get into why I think that is, but I started rising of the Kundalini and up to the brain and partial activation of the pineal gland. And that's intriguing to me because when you look up the Kundalini, people can experience a spontaneous awakening of the Kundalini after.
So, this is so new. I didn't watch it till, shortly before I started. I'm going to have to hold off my opinion on, what they're talking about there. I do know I covered the theosophical mysticism. That's a thing. It was a world religion. They had it all. They're Aleister Crowley's, and they want to take the world back to it. We don't have time, but there's plenty of info out there on them. They're
Well,
not the good guys.
you can say that too, but my understanding is that if you study this stuff and you go into Blavatsky and Crowley's literature and their teachings or their stances on spiritual stuff, for example, it's not as demonic or evil or anything. It's just they understand something about this reality. Maybe it's some kind of energy that they're manipulating, but you can use
Yeah.
you can call it magic. But you have black magic, you have white magic. You can
Well,
use this
you have
for good or evil.
you have the truth of Jesus Christ, or you don't. And then when you don't, you're going to look for ways to make sense in another way, because that's what you're called to do. That's what you're raised to do. It's what you've been millstoned to do. But it all is going to come down to it. I have a couple of more things here I have to knock out here. I stumbled on a show that way before Bosom Buddies with the other red shoe wearing guy, there was something where they had a ugliest guy where they mistakenly thought this was a girl and they made a TV show about it. So how long has this been going on? They want to, that's what they want. They don't want families raised on families. The Stones did cry out because they're reserved in judgment.
Well, we talked about this before, man. You look at pictures or paintings, portraits of those old queens and monarchs who were females. They all look like dudes.
For some reason, that's a thing. They're trying to, because before the law, God saw that marriage was good, and he said that the idea was that he wanted people to raise godly offspring. And we know what's right or wrong. It's written on our heart. We know the warnings of the people who see there's a creation, there's something, there's spirits. And yet I still think it's okay, or I have to say it's okay, if the pastor of the local church likes little boys because, well, I work for him, or I like little boys too, or whatever it is. They're all tied in somehow. Vara, they all rolled up their pant leg, had a knife put to their throat, and took a death vow and joined to the Freemasons, supposedly of their own free will. That sounds like a bunch of bullshit. It sounds
Well,
satanic to me, man.
well, everything was good before Genesis chapter 2.
For who? How
According
do
to
you
God,
know?
everything God created said he was good. Then something
Well, he
happened after
didn't
that.
say that the darkness was good in the first day. The darkness was never called good. He took light out of darkness, and that was good, but he never said the first day was good. This whole physical realm that you're a part of is an object lesson to the one God who is a spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and truth, and realize that our spirit is our spirit. It is not the battery operated flesh that every cell gets replaced at least every 5 years. You're a complete new, you slough off cells because you're only a battery operated Mobius strip waiting to be either
But
have your
God's
name in the
kingdom
book
is
of
within
life
me, though.
or
Right?
not.
But God's kingdom is within me, though, right?
Is it? What
According to Jesus, it is.
Well, those people that it says the kingdom is within you are people that he calls called, chosen, elect, predestined, adopted from before the foundation of the earth to make a decision to follow Christ, give everything they can, and not live for this world because we know this is not our home. That's what Christians do.
But Jesus also said, I am in my Father, and you are in me, and I am in you.
Well,
That's
he
the
was
same
talking
thing
to
he's
the
saying.
apostles. He's talking to Christians. When you see a letter from one of the apostles writing to people, it's saying, "Oh, my dear beloved in Christ." Well, he's writing to Christians. He's going to use those terms. He's not writing to, "Hey, everybody in the world, you're all good." Not everybody in the world has been called, chosen, predestined to suffer for Jesus Christ. Because if you're not giving things away, if you're not being like everything is about Jesus Christ and being alive to give a child a drink of water that doesn't have fluoride in it, then you're not on board with what God is doing. There's never been a chance, except for the little season where people can beat their swords into plowshares and say, I'm not drawing a line in the sand to go and fight the robot dogs. That's me hiding in the caves, protecting the old and the weak and the young, because the cities are going to burn. They're going to be eating each. This isn't a joke, Vara. Your credit card's not going to work someday soon.
I know.
And it's
I'm
all
well
going to get
aware. I'm
real.
prepared. I'm prepared, man. Don't worry.
Well,
all I'm missing is a gun so I can kill some zombies. But other than that, I'm good. I'm ready for it, man.
And how I mean, suppose you kill the first 500 zombies, you think that's going to be enough? Or are you going to do Rambo? I didn't know.
I think we're going to have to deal with some heavy alien propaganda now with visual technology to make you convinced that we have aliens or whatever attacking us.
I know they're going to try to convince a lot of people.
You know what I'm talking about.
Not really. What aliens?
Project Bluebeam, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, they faked that. It's all coming down. They're going to do those 3D animations, and it's going to be like so convincing of the beast. But that might have been for then, because right now it looks like it's an economic crash that's going to cause electricity failure, and then it's going to be the main key ingredients of judgment, sword, famine, pestilence, over and over again in scripture. Sword. Hey, guess what's coming your way? Sword, famine, pestilence. It would be nice to live in a world where God was blessing us, but this is the judgment, man. This is the end of the end. It's the post
No, no, no. You don't
Revelation
have
20
to.
thing. Is next
No, no, no.
stop is rescue by fire and great white throne of judgment. Hey,
No,
don't go
man.
anywhere. I want to talk to
You
you. But I have to remind these people that it's a flat earth nation. The golden age is past. Me and my friends are never going to tell you anything else because we know we're called, chosen, predestined, and have confessed, Lord Jesus, help us in any way to have their best interest at heart. Because once you get into the true addiction of scripture, the only approved addiction, the people in Berea were addicted to the study of scripture, and that's a good thing. It's the only addiction because we're addicted creatures. We're going to be addicted. Soak yourself in it. Believe it and live it. If you believe it, confess it. You've been given talents. You're a seed planted in soil. God said the person he gave 5 talents to, he made 10. Look at the fine print. Jesus said, good job. That's the least you could have done. It wasn't like, wow, dude. No, what talents you have, you better max them out. Because this is not a joke. If the righteous scarcely be saved, what chance hath the lukewarm? If you want to know, lukewarm is spit out of the mouth. Just asking you to trust me, your conscience, and scripture on that. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakmen. Adios, amigos.